Right now, Ashe County, and by extension Ashland, is importing way too much grain, livestock, and vegetables. That's risky because it leaves our city vulnerable if supply chains break down or prices spike. So today, we're fixing that by building our own local farms, keeping things self-sufficient and realistic, and since farms need workers, we'll also build a small, comfortable community right beside them. So getting into it, I've been eyeing this plot right here, specifically for two reasons. First reason being that for crops like vegetables and grain, you want the land to be fairly flat. Second reason being that I want somewhere that is in a central location, a spot that will be able to ship these goods within a reasonable distance fairly quickly. And actually, there is a third reason. Given our wind conditions, we won't have any smog or pollution blow into our farmland from our current industry, so that's a really big plus. So the first thing we're going to want to do is just grade just a tiny bit. I don't want to go too crazy here, but I just want to make it so that's a bit easier to draw these roads. And I'm going to make an interchange underneath the current highway. We'll go negative 10 meters underneath the current highway. We'll draw a straight road. And about 20 units seems pretty good to me. From here, we'll reset back to 0 and we'll grab our continuous curve tool and just make a nice smooth curve. Try to get, oh, wow, that's bad. I forgot to reset it to 0 before I clicked the road. And I'm aiming for under 6%, so 5.8% is perfectly acceptable in my books, especially for a road like this. On the other side, we're gonna have a bit more of a challenge just because we have that immediate hill. And instead of trying to go the full 10 meters, we're just gonna go negative 5 meters above. So they'll give us a gentler incline, and then we'll go right back down to 0, and that's perfect. That's perfect. I couldn't ask for any better, and already this is shaping up pretty well. And now I'll just draw this road straight just for now. That way my brain can focus on the actual interchange itself. And right now it's looking pretty bad. So the first thing I actually want to do is just grab a 1-lane highway, come in, and then just go about 4 units up on both sides. And then I'll use this point to add some nodes to the highway. And now I can convert this to an elevated segment and delete those roads. And that's not bad for our foundation. And now I'm going to level this entire area. This will make it a billion times easier when we're adding our lanes to come in from the highway. And then we'll just slope up to both points. And now I'm just going to try and fix this. I already tried it once, but it didn't come out too well. So I'm going to try it a little bit harder on my measurements here. I'm going to go up 20 units. No, I'll go up 16 units. I'll come directly into the highway and then I'll pull right in. And how is that looking? It is looking really bad. The same as before. Okay, so we're going to use move it. I'm just going to bump this up. See if we can bring it to the same height and still have it be somewhat reasonable. And that is so much better. It's night and day. It's literally night and day. Now on the other side, it's going to be the exact same story. So we'll go up 16, curve directly in, and then just pull up, eyeballing it, trying to align it with this side of the highway. Quickly reverse the direction of this road. And yeah, the same thing's happening. Weird. That doesn't usually happen to me when I have a constant slope on. So we'll just use move it, bump it right back up. And again, night and day, it's looking perfect. Overall, it's a bit asymmetrical. It's almost symmetrical, but it's still just slightly off. And honestly, I'm perfectly fine with that. I like it better when there's a little bit of weirdness in your interchanges. I think it makes for a better interchange. Now on this side, it's the exact same story. Go up 16, pull in. Okay, overall, I'm happy with that. There's a few minor imperfections, but I'm not too worried about them. They're so small that it just doesn't matter. Now I want to add some key walls to these on and off ramps, and I also want to add them to the highway themselves. I think it just looks a lot better when they're there, because it feels like you have those guardrails that are usually on a normal highway. And wow, this is just fighting with me. It doesn't want to get upgraded. And now that I think about it, maybe I'll take a break on this, and we'll lay off the upgrades for now. But I do want to do some lane mathematics, so we obviously have some issues. But I will upgrade these first. And yeah, I already think that looks nicer. I think as long as you keep the terrain flat, it looks good. So upgrading both of these to 3-lane highways, and then I want to add the keys here. And then we'll also add back the 3 lanes over here. And now the one on the right is perfectly fine. That distance is acceptable, but the one on the left, I'm not happy with. It's way too short. And that's looking solid. So now the only thing I want to do is just use manipulation mode and move it to just fix this. Because right now it looks weird. So the lines are coming off and we're just going to use move it just to give it a bump over. So everything's looking great so far. I'm going to remove all the trees for now and I'll add them back later. Now I just want to go through and add keys to these one-ways. And they're going to look awful until we fix the terrain just a bit and do a bit of landscaping. But for now, I'm not worried about that. Now I want to start thinking about the community and the town. And before we do that, we just want to level this area just a bit. We would have gotten a lot of soil from digging out for the interchange. And this is barely noticeable, barely different at all. But for our purposes, it's going to make a world of a difference. So we're just going to level this out just a bit. And I just realized I was using Anarchy to do these roads, so I'm going to purchase the tiles for real this time. Before we purchase them, I want to actually lay down some guidelines for myself to know which tiles I actually need to purchase. Otherwise, I might just waste money. And this is just an easy way to do it. By laying down some roads, we'll be able to see with the bird's eye view when we're buying our tiles exactly which ones we need. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so these are exact tiles we need. I'd like to make a connection come up from here, but it depends. The tile upkeep costs will start to eat us alive if we're not careful. And that's probably not the most efficient connection. I could probably just make a diagonal line, although I'd probably have to use Anarchy. But for right now, we're just going to stick with these. And I want this to feel like a real local, small, tiny, farm-oriented community. So in order to do that, I'm going to actually make a road without sidewalks. But I'm going to take the industrial alley road that we have. I'm going to edit it and make kind of a slight variant, which is bigger shoulders. That way we can upgrade down the line if we need to. So I'm thinking about setting the lane width for 2 meters, specifically for the shoulders. I don't know if that's going to look too off. I'd like to go slightly bigger, but it definitely will look off if we go any bigger than 2. Either way, it's kind of close enough. I'd say we're just about half a unit from where we need to be, but that's acceptable. Now we'll take our new road and we're just going to follow along those contours and the city will be kind of inside. Okay, and there we go. I couldn't have asked for it to come out any better. I think it's pretty much perfect. So we'll have our community closer to the inside of the interchange, and then our farms will be a little bit further and spread out. I'm going to turn off constant slope and just draw this line just to see how many tiles this would take to make this rough connection. So 5. It would take 5, probably 6 tiles if we don't use Anarchy whatsoever. And that's $86,000 a month or $461,000 up front. I'll probably shelve this until the end of the episode. If we have enough money to do this, we will. If not, we'll add it in at a later date. I just don't really like the idea of this becoming a cul-de-sac. Anyways, so over here will be our farms area. We'll use dirt roads. And then over here will be our community area. So we'll have a residential, a tiny bit of commercial. That's about it. We'll also use the same roads that we used for the main arterial. I'm going to start with this side because I think it's going to be a bit easier. And really, all we're doing is the same thing we've always done. We're just going to follow those contour lines. Going to come right into our main existing line. We'll have one line that goes all the way around. Think of it like your connector almost. And then we'll have a bunch of local roads. And then on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to try and get as close to those contour lines as I can. Really try and hug it. And then I'm just going to use the complex curve tool, snap the guidelines, and just come straight in. Now I want to start creating our farm grid, and I've thought about this a fair amount, and I think I'm just going to go with 20 by 20 for our grid. It gives a lot of space, also gives a lot of variation. It also takes up a lot of space, but I think it's simple enough that it should work. And then for this side, I want to try and match the curve if I can. So I'll come up 20, grab this point, use the curved road tool, snap the guidelines, and perfect. I love that. I think that's perfect. And then from here, we'll just go roughly in at a 90 if we can. And I think that's looking pretty good. The rest is really easy. We're just going to draw straight lines. And then for the city itself, we'll just go 8 by 14. I want to be a little bit shorter. And yeah, 8 by 14 works. And there we have it. That'll be our irregular city. But first, I want to add the farmland. And I guess we should actually check to see what our deficits are. So apparently we have no deficits from vegetables, chicken, or grain. Great. Okay, so we'll build nothing. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to... No, I'm just joking. We'll place some livestock. I want to get a fair balance of each. And for livestock, I want it to be grass. So I'm going to get rid of that weird surface that it gives livestock. It makes no sense. For textiles, we'll probably have just one. For vegetables, again, we'll keep it simple. For grain, I actually do want to put a sand texture over it because it'll feel a little bit more like grain. I want to figure out if we can add, I don't know, something just a little bit more to it. We'll see if we can. And oh my God, how did we forget? Water, sewage, power. I didn't add a single one of them. Okay, so that'll be our next objective. Power, we're just going to add a transformer station. It just makes the most sense. And you might be getting PTSD to the last time I detailed the transformer station, but this time we're going to keep it really simple, I promise. There's nothing crazy going on. We're going to replace the surface. We're going to add in the gravel surface to replace underneath the actual transformers. We're going to add maybe 20 decals, and that'll be it. And I'm going to snap my fingers, and it'll be done. Okay, now I am going to use Anarchy to connect this high voltage line because it's just reasonably, it doesn't make sense to buy all these tiles to connect a high voltage line. Okay, and now for water. For water, I'm just going to add the USA Northeast water tower. We could add the other ones, but honestly for their capacity and their cost, it just doesn't make sense. And I'm going to add this right about here. We're going to use move it to rotate it. And over here, we use these sunglasses. So now I want to use something different. I think we'll use the welcome sign on this one, and we'll orientate the welcome sign towards the highway. Perfect. I love it. I wish I could write the name of this little city on it. I think that would make it even better. Now we don't have to add a dirt road here, but I'm going to add one anyways just because I'm extra. Actually, I'll just convert this to an alleyway for now. I think I'll probably just run a net lane over this anyways, so I'm not really going to worry about it. But the one thing I am going to worry about is getting the water connected. While we're over here, we might as well just slope this right now. I don't mind leaving like the edges of cliffs, especially because we probably blasted to get here. I'm happy to leave them here, but the only thing I really care about right now is the key wall on this, and it looks a bit off. So I'm gonna give a bit of space, and then we're gonna slope up to the key wall, and we're gonna make sure the key wall is as flat as possible. For sewage, we're still exporting it, and I don't want to buy a wastewater treatment plant yet. So I think we're just going to buy this tile right here, and then we'll connect up into one of our previous roads. With the tile bought, I just want to give myself a little bit more of a level pad here. Otherwise, constant slope doesn't work. If the terrain has like a massive like drop right away, constant slope typically just doesn't work. And then for this, we're just going to snake our way all the way through until we can connect up with our road. We're going to maintain pretty much anything under 5% grade. And with that, we are ready to go back and add in our farms, and which means we're also ready to click play. All right, let's see if our issues resolve. Perfect. Okay. And now we're going to add our farms. We're going to draw on our surfaces. We're going to add a bit of livestock, grain, vegetables, and one textile. Okay, so far so good. I'm liking the way the land's laid out. I have 2 open plots and we're going to use a grass surface for those. I'll get into that soon. Right now, I want to try and change up the surfaces just a tiny bit. So there's going to be a few different ones. One's going to have sand, one's going to have a dark green, almost field-like texture. And then I think for a few of them, we'll also add in a transparent black texture. So I'll use the area bucket for this. Increase the size as much as possible, and then I'm just going to place it down and see how that looks. And I think it's just not transparent enough, so we'll extend this surface all the way up to cover the entire farm. And now we'll use the replace tool and try out a slightly lower transparency, and that is good. I think that works. For me, that works perfectly fine. I'm happy with that. So currently working on the livestock, I've been trying to find a grass surface that works really well for this, and there's not one that I am absolutely in love with, but I do have a rough idea of which one I'm going to use. But either way, it doesn't matter. We're going to place down the surface first, and if we need to, we can just replace this right after. And this by itself, I don't like. I honestly really don't like it. But I think if we use some of these other surfaces combined with this one, we might be able to get something that feels a lot better. So I'm thinking about this one, and to me this looks acceptable. I don't hate it by any means. It does cover the road, so we'll need to be careful, which means it also probably covers the farm surface as well. Yeah, it does. You know what, honestly, I think this is perfectly fine. I think it gives that illusion that there is grass, especially for the cows and animals to eat. So I think this is the grass surface that we'll use from here on out for our other 2 plots as well. And now I just want to add the fence in. Okay, now I've been trying to figure out what's the best way to fix this, because the fact that it's all uniform is kind of bugging me. I want some small variations, maybe just, I don't know, a little bit of black spots, maybe spots that have been eaten by the cows and the animals more than others. And I think doing something like this should fix it. And then just coming through and just kind of like softening it up just a tiny bit. I just want some variation from the surface here, you know what I mean? Taking a small break, I want to take a look at this plot. And I just want to use the area bucket and just fill it in with some grass for now. It's been pretty much an eyesore for me. And so I'll go with the checkered grass. And no, I won't. Okay, so I'll go with this grass. Then we'll just use the upgrade tool or the replace tool to change it. I have no idea why that's not working. That's really weird to me. So let's just use any of these old grass surfaces and see what we can kind of get out of that. I guess we could use this one. Oh, it looks much better when the surface is off. Okay, I like that a lot. Let's just do the same thing over here. We'll click on it twice just to get a little bit more of a deeper effect. And yeah, I like that. I think when it's all done, it's going to come together very well. Right now, it does look a bit weird, but I think it will come together. And then over here, we're going to do something similar to the other one that we did, where we just added a slightly darker, transparent surface over it. I want to make sure I'm varying the darkness of these transparencies. Like, I don't want to be all the same. For example, I'm going to make this one just slightly darker than the rest. And I need to I need to move the surfaces first. And obviously that's a bit too dark, so that's too light. But I think that's pretty solid. I think we already have about 4 different color variations here. And it's really coming together as like a proper farm. Pause for a second. This is Josh from the future. Also, I realized last time I paused and said my name's Josh. Yeah, my name's Josh. Josh from the future here. I just wanted to let everyone know that I have made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment. I ran out of storage and OBS was recording. And when I looked over to see it, I noticed it wasn't recording. So I'm about to skip ahead. There's not too much that was done. I mostly added trees, added these sand surfaces, and really finished up on what the vision was for this farm area. I zoned in a tiny bit of residential, and that's it. Oh my god, what am I, Rookie of the Year? How did I not notice? I wish I could set an alert for something like that. Feel free to comment and call me Rookie of the Year. I don't know how I made that mistake. Usually, all my recordings go on a very specific drive, and just this time, I changed the output for something else, another project that I was working on, and completely forgot. Either way, this was the final vision that I had for this area, and I love it. I think it feels real. I added a bunch of animal spawners to the livestock farm with the grass. I added some sand surfaces to some of the grain farms, and then I added trees, and I love it. Looking at this makes me feel pretty happy inside, because really all it's missing is just some trees around the entire area, and it would look like chef's kiss. It'd be perfect. Looking at some of this residential here, my original plan was like, okay, these would be low value homes. There wouldn't be, there wouldn't be very big lots or anything like that. But now when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that thought process was just completely wrong. All of these should have massive backyards, especially the ones facing the back of the road where there isn't going to be any zoning. For here, we need to just add some more homes. I'm going to fix this up. And I feel like already that's a massive improvement. There's still some more improvements to make, but really this area isn't going to be that perfectly designed area. All the space is being tightly used. This was an area that was thrown together over decades, and it's kind of just transforming into this. And typically that's how development would happen anyways. You have a farm area, and then you have your very local community. And as the community expands, that farm area gets bought up and transferred to more residential uses. And really all that's left is to add in a bunch of trees. Typically you wouldn't really see this, but we're in that small local community, and that's why I don't mind that we're going to spend a lot of our land on trees. As time expands and we move forward, this area of course will expand too, and there will be new uses, there will be new development here. It's just not today. But how could I forget one of the most important things, which is just a simple park. This area does need a park, and as a father, a playground is one of the biggest things that you can have in your neighborhood. And when you don't have one, things can become, exhausting. You drive, a few kilometers or miles away to a park, and then you have to do that instead of just walking across the street or walking, down the block. And as always, if you have a name, please feel free to share it. I'm happy to make changes. Naming is my weak point. For now, I'm just going to call it Hillside. It's pretty much the name that it was. And I named the farm area Highland Farms. The names don't really work together too well. So again, if you got ideas, send them my way. I'm happy to implement them. Last but not least, I'm seeing another bad decision on my part. I didn't want to zone this just because it was so close to the road, but I mean, come on. These may not be the most desirable lots, but they're still lots and people still want to live here. So if they want to live here, let's get them zoned in and let's make it make sense. Now there's two things left to do. The first thing is to see if we can afford this, and it doesn't seem like we can. Our money's bouncing back and forth right now, and we still don't have the actual money required. Even if we bought all of these tiles, we would still need to use Anarchy for one of them. And I don't really want to do that if I don't have to. So let me know in the comments. Does it make sense to do that? If we're talking about, highways or any roads like that, does it make sense? I'm in the boat right now where it almost feels like it's cheating because we shouldn't be able to make that connection and we should be able to have restrictions. But anyways, I'm really, really, really happy with how this turned out. I think it came out way better than I thought it was going to. The farms, they feel almost like perfect. Of course, the grain isn't as grainy as we want it to be, but at the end of the day, I think it's better than what could be achieved in vanilla significantly. And if that's the case, then I'm pretty happy. And for the last thing, I just want to finish up all the landscaping and detailing here. Nothing crazy. I want to make sure that the key is as flat as can be. And then I want to just add some bushes. I want to make sure these cliffs don't feel like cliffs, but instead feel more like sloped cliffs, I guess. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. I just don't want them to feel so boxy. Because right now they almost feel like a box, and I don't like that. Okay, I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. Even though we had that small little issue with the storage, it really came out better than I had imagined in my head. But of course, we need to check to see what our production is. Okay, we're getting better. It's not amazing yet, but we are getting better. What's happening over in Broad Gardens? Wow, there is a fire issue. And I feel like this is because we haven't fixed our fire and rescue budget, and no, we haven't. Oh my, and I shouldn't be pausing. So I am paused it. Okay, let's set this back to 100% for now. And let's try to never reduce this ever again. We were so broke and we were bleeding money before where I was just like reducing everything. But when we put it back up to 100%, the entirety of like Ashland is solid and we don't have any problems here. I bet you we have problems other places, but that's just something we're going to ignore for now. And wow, we have burnt down a lot of houses. So we'll just delete those, getting them to come back and respawn in. Okay. We got some row houses burning, and I hate this. I hate that when they level up, they move away from where they are. All right, so that's a wrap. We got our new little farms. We got our new little farm town. We built out a new interchange, and overall, I love it. I love it a lot. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. And, if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment. If you got any thoughts on what we should tackle next, drop a comment. And as always, thanks for watching.